It's time for the Rider Dynasty podcast. Let's go! Welcome to the Rider Dynasty podcast with Ryan Bickerstaff, JJ Wenner, and your host, Michael Kloss.
Friends around the campfire and everybody's high. Oh, I can't even hit that high. It is a big Rocky Mountain high from Colorado for me. Welcome to the Rider Dynasty podcast. We're on to week 6. And I'm not as high as I'd like to be, but it's hard to believe that we're already here in week 6. It's flying by, and I think I'm enjoying the ride. I know you guys are too. Let's give a warm hello to our young college student. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Are we doing John Denver references on the pod now? Because I can play this game. Tuesday night in Toledo, Ohio is like being nowhere at all. Anyway, hi guys. I've completed all my midterm exams, fall break's coming up, and I'm ready to get into episode 30.
Well, Michael's here, Ryan's here, and that just leaves us with our cranky curmudgeon of the pod. JJ, what's going on? I'm not calling you a duder this time, I promise.
Oh, that's sweet. I am doing great. Last week we actually had my first meeting of the fantasy football club at the middle school that I'm running for the kids there. And we did our first set of rankings, and we're going to be having a mini draft for a league in 2 weeks. So, very excited.
I hope this catches on, and maybe we get other listeners of the pod, maybe that are teachers or just other enthusiasts that are writers. I mean, that's definitely something that I could see kids doing at a younger age, get them with, a lot more like in math and stats. So congratulations for kind of conceiving that idea at your school. That's so cool.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited about it.
All right. Certified athletic trainer Nick Marabito, he'll be with us in a moment to update us on all of the injury news. And, of course, if you like what you're hearing, we are at 30 episodes. This is episode 30 of the Rider Dynasty podcast. So please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Never miss an episode. And, of course, please be sure to tell your friends about us and get the latest fantasy news and advice. So we're going to get into some fun segments today. We're going to get into some controversial statements and opinions that we have. Also, of course, we'll hit our starts and sits along with our news desk. But it is, of course, now that special time of the pod when we like to get
Nicked Up with athletic trainer Nick Marabito.
All right. Thank you, Nick. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Why don't you give us a rundown on the injuries that you have on your report?
I have a pretty decent sized list here. I guess we'll start with maybe a couple Kansas City Chiefs. So first one, we're going to start with Patrick Mahomes, right? I'm sure everyone is a little concerned that the arguably best quarterback in the NFL looked like he got a little banged up on Sunday night against the Colts. It looked to be, just from a straight mechanism standpoint, what you would see in kind of a classic high ankle sprain type of deal. The good thing is that he did continue to play on it. Now, in the heat of competition, there is always adrenaline, so it's not always the best gauge of exactly how severe it is, but this is an injury that he's been dealing with actually really since week 1. So, I'm assuming that he probably went under x-rays, and we haven't heard anything as far as any bone damage or anything, which is good. So we'll see as he goes through practice this week if anything changes. But it seems like this may be something that he's just going to be able to kind of play through the pain a little bit. And then also his teammate, so we have Tyreek Hill. Obviously, he's been out of action really since week 1 with that sternoclavicular dislocation. Talked about how that was a medical emergency at the time. Still waiting for clearance on him, clearance for contact. And actually, a little bit of good news. Ian Rappaport reported that the Chiefs are optimistic that he's going to play in Week 6. So, it's about that 5-week mark. That's kind of what we talked about. So yeah, I think it's definitely possible. Nothing is official yet. We haven't seen him practice yet. Still early in the week. But if he's cleared and we see him practicing by, let's say, Thursday or Friday, I would expect him to play come Sunday.
Now, Tyreek Hill, his situation is a little bit different because he's been allowed to keep running plays. He just hasn't been able to take contact, correct?
That's correct. So, no movement like running or catching or doing anything like that is going to affect that area. It's really just making sure that area is safe and avoiding contact because, you take a hit the wrong way and then all the progress you made over the last couple of weeks of healing, kind of goes back to square one. So he's been working out. His conditioning is up, which is great. So I don't think that should be an issue. I don't think he's at an increased risk of maybe a soft tissue injury like some guys if you're sitting out a while. He's kept his conditioning up, so it's really just a matter of if they feel that everything is structurally sound, he should be good to go as soon as he's cleared.
Well, that's not, luckily that doesn't seem to be too big of an issue. Speaking of big, a bunch of Giants got hurt this past weekend. If you want to start hitting those off one by one.
Yeah, so first one, we'll talk about the replacement for the running back that Saquon Barkley, right? But we'll talk about his replacement for a second, Wayne Gallman. He took a pretty nasty hit on Sunday, and he is in the concussion protocol. And I talked about this last week, kind of this graded return to play. Now, the tough thing here, and I guess I can actually kind of lump his teammate Sterling Shepard into this. So right. Wayne Gallman and Sterling Shepard are both in that concussion protocol, and we talked about how there's this graded return to play. One day you do some light aerobic activity, then you do some lifting, some bigger powerful movements to see if any symptoms kind of happen, and you have to keep hitting these checklists as you go along. And this short turnaround from a Sunday to a Thursday is really, really tough to kind of get that. So usually, now this is me speaking generally, every concussion should be treated individually. They are all different. But generally, if you sustain a concussion on Sunday, it's really tough to get back by Thursday night because you have to hit all those checkpoints. So I would be shocked if either of those two play on Thursday. We'll talk about Saquon, right? The one I'm sure everyone is excited about. I know people maybe saw some videos on Twitter of him kind of at practice. And, he definitely looked good, right? Like he is certainly someone that, like I said last week, if there's one person who can break science, it is that man, Saquon Barkley. But,
right.
In those videos, he still wasn't, I would say, going 100%. There's a difference between him being able to tolerate pain, right, as he's running, and being structurally okay where you can take a hit and still be okay, right? So, again, Thursday, short week, I would be shocked if they put him out there. We'll see what happens with the practice schedule this week, but I would be shocked if he plays on Thursday night. I think give him the extra time. Maybe we'll see him next Sunday, and maybe another week after that. It really depends how that's healing. And then lastly, we have Evan Ingram, who's dealing with a sprained MCL. This kind of came a little bit out of nowhere. We saw a tweet from Adam Schefter yesterday about this, and there is no timetable exactly on Ingram. He hasn't been ruled out. He's questionable for Thursday night. But, a sprained MCL, even a grade 1 sprain, and just, a little background, right? So you have grade 1, 2, and 3, generally, less severe all the way up to a grade 3 would be kind of the most possible damage, a complete tear of whatever ligament we're talking about here. And here we're talking about the MCL. Even with a grade 1 sprain, it would be really tough to come back on that quick turnaround. Obviously that's kind of a pattern here with all of these guys. Thursday night games have their own, issues. They all kind of suck anyway when you watch them. But
they really do. Yeah,
and honestly, it's awful for the players' health and everything else. It's but it's a money thing. But that's a whole other issue. So again, another guy here who I would be surprised if he plays, and if he does play, I would say he might be pretty limited there.
Now, Sterling Shepard, this is his second concussion in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I know how the closer you have concussions together, the more severe they can become. Just because of that, the compounding effect. Is that true, or is that something I just heard?
So there is there's a very that's actually a pretty complicated question there, pretty layered. So some people in the general public, maybe you've heard of what is it called? Second impact syndrome. Have you heard that phrase before?
Yes.
So that is, in the literature, maybe a little questioned. So there's not necessarily this quote unquote second impact syndrome, but yes, if you sustain a concussion in the subsequent days to follow or subsequent weeks to follow, you are more susceptible to sustaining another concussion, right? So seeing a guy like this, how we've had, another concussion in 3 weeks, I think it is 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I would not be surprised, right? And again, I'm not there seeing him every day. I would not be surprised if this is a longer recovery. There's not a flat out planned, he will definitely miss 7 to 10 days. Again, that's not how this works. So what they'll see what his symptoms are like. There are different tests they can do, objective tests, testing his balance, testing his eye tracking, different things like that, depending on what his symptoms are. And then obviously they'll kind of see that progression over time. Because this is someone who sustained back-to-back kind of concussions like that, I would assume that they're going to be, maybe a little extra careful. Not that they weren't careful in the first place, but he is going to be someone that they're going to monitor for sure.
Okay. Now, just speaking of concussions, I know Jordan Reed has suffered another concussion, which I believe is his 37th or something ridiculous. I believe it's his 6th concussion.
I think
or
I might
7th?
I think it might be 7 or 8. I think.
Yeah, I mean he should retire.
Whenever you're discussing with a player, right, about their future, you go pros and cons. I would say at this point, for his own health, I think he would be better off if he did retire. And there's go down a whole rabbit hole of how you kind of broach that discussion with a player. It's tough. It's tough because he's obviously doing something that he loves to do, right? If he sustained this many concussions, he's still kind of pushing to get back here. But yeah, no, his long-term health for sure is definitely something that could be jeopardized after all of these.
Speaking of Jesus roofies, Mason Rudolph, what's he going through right now? Same thing?
So yeah, same type of thing where he is in the concussion protocol. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. So this was a discussion we had actually kind of in one of my classes after we saw what had happened. And like I said before, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, right? There's a relationship there with the University of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They share a facility, so there's a lot of back and forth. So in talking to people, some of the ins and outs of how Heinz Field works and things like that. So I believe the excuse that they or the reporting that came out is that the cart wasn't working. That is why he walked off the field, right? There's definitely some questions I have there that I want to ask. You still have a gurney that you could roll out there, right? Obviously, I wasn't there to evaluate him, but you can pretty clearly see in the video that he lost consciousness and immediately went into what we call posturing. So if you noticed, his hands, right, like his left arm kind of came up to his body and his right arm went out to his side. And what happens sometimes, there are these different postures that your body goes into when your brain sustains damage. And we kind of have this checklist of things as athletic trainers and kind of EMTs and everyone else that is there in that situation of, okay, if this is happening, then you have to assume a spinal injury and you go through your protocols. Loss of consciousness is one of those things. So I definitely have some questions that I would love to, maybe we'll get some answers as the days go on here. The grand scheme of things, what matters for fantasy football is that, he is in the concussion protocol and he's going to go through that same type of graded return And we'll see. Typically, when there is a loss of consciousness, concussions can last, those symptoms can last a little bit longer. So we could see maybe a little bit of a prolonged recovery, but again, it is different in every person and in every case.
All right. Now, I drafted Hunter Henry very early. Of course, I don't care about where I draft him. I care about the health of the player. But am I going to see him back on my roster anytime soon?
I mean, it's okay if you care about where you drafted him a little bit. It is still fantasy football.
I mean, just a little bit.
But yeah, no, that's fair. But we are here for the health of the player, right? So he sustained a tibial plateau fracture, which is like a fracture in his shin bone, the first week of the season. And Anthony Lynn today talked about the possibility of him returning this week, and he was saying that he's moving around pretty good. He was seen kind of moving, working on the sideline with the athletic training staff. And he said, quote, "So we'll see if we can try to work him into practice this week, but there's no guarantee he'll be back." So to me, from the outside, that seems like I would, just from that kind of quote, expect him to maybe miss this week. Again, we'll see if he progresses into team drills and contact drills. But I would have to say that, and kind of looking at the timeline, I think next week is definitely a real possibility that he is back by then.
I hope so. Let me just yell out some names to you. Oh, God, Devontae Adams please tell me he's back. Please.
Look, no, this is a tough one. I have Devontae Adams in a few leagues, and like I said last week, turf toe is one of those things that can linger. Before any practice reports came out, I said last week, it's going to be tough for a turnaround in 1 week with turf toe, and it's still going to be tough, I think, in this second week here. It completely depends on the severity, and we're going to have to see if he practices at all. Like last week, he didn't practice even at all on the side. He was just not involved in anything. So we'll see. Maybe if we see a report here in the next couple of days of him working on the side, that would be great, and then kind of getting that return to play. But right now, I would say, to prepare at least to maybe miss him for at least another week.
Is turf toe always the big toe?
Generally, yes. That's what people will refer to. That's the one that you're going to injure the most. And when you actually look at his injury, it's a pretty classic kind of mechanism. He was on top of kind of the balls of his feet, and the way that the player behind him landed, it kind of sent force down directly into that area there. So for him, yes, it is for sure the big toe. And generally, yes, turf toe is the big toe.
Yeah, we had a kid in high school. His name was Mike, who ran the 400 hurdles, and he had lost 2.5 toes to a lawnmower accident when he was a kid. But They were the two little toes and half the middle toe. So he was still able to generate some speed. Yeah, because he had his big toe.
Yeah, your push off is off your big toe. I think that might be called something else, though. I don't think that is turf toe. That is some.
Well, it would literally be turf toe.
Yeah,
but he lost it while maintaining turf. Anyway, Mike, if you're out there, I remember you, brother. AJ Green, right? He's back. We're ready to go. He's going to be a top 10 wide receiver, right?
I wish I could say that. That would be great. I have him in about every league I'm in, but he's already been ruled out for this week. We'll see if there are any updates. The Bengals seem to not want to give specific updates on AJ Green. It seems like they're not rushing him back. You wonder if he is in his contract year. Maybe he's just taking a little more extra time. Maybe there's a trade down the pipe. You never know. But right now, from a medical standpoint, no, he's already ruled out, and we'll see what happens for next week. So you can chalk up this one already.
All right. My last one for the day. And if you answer this correctly, you might get hugs. Sam Darnold, man. Give me the news. Give me the news I've been waiting to hear as a Jets fan.
Yeah, well, congratulations. He has been medically cleared for contact, and he should be good to go. So it seems like, with mono, you need to make sure that especially the spleen is, not swollen anymore. If you have a swollen spleen and you kind of put yourself in danger for contact and damage to that. And then, as you heard him so eloquently put it in his press conference, he doesn't want to die. That's good.
Yeah, that was pretty blunt.
Yeah, and that's I would say that's a good attitude to have. So, right now he's been medically cleared and he should be good to go. So congratulations. Maybe you guys can get off the schneid a little bit with Sammy coming back.
Yeah, it should be nice with him and C.J. Mosley and Chris Herndon and Brandon Copeland all coming back at once. But so last question for you.
Let me hear it.
How did the players in the 70s, how did any of them survive? Right? Because there was no, their concussion protocol was get the F up and get back in the game. Right? There was no sitting out. There was no, and look, I am all about player safety. Like, I don't care at all about my fantasy teams if a player's hurt, they need to do what's best for them. Like, that's just where I come from as a father. Like, I look at these guys, most of them are young enough to be my kids now. But wow, how did these guys just, before this stuff was standard in the league, how did they survive?
No, I ask myself that question all the time, and quite frankly, seeing them maybe at an advanced age, I would say maybe, they didn't really, like, as far as, seeing themselves, down the line, the impacts that you can have. And even, you say the 70s, it wasn't long ago that people were still saying, like, people still say that don't really know things like mild concussion or moderate concussion, things like, it wasn't very long ago that the deciding factor of return to play was if they lost consciousness or not. So that is, it's pretty crazy how far we've come in concussion research. And as I've said before, I go to Temple and they're a big, they do a lot of concussion research at Temple. So they're kind of a driving force. And it's pretty crazy to see kind of how far we've come. And there still is a long way to go at all levels, not just return to play, but, at the high school levels, these things called return to learn, right? Going back to school, making sure that you're okay there to kind of take on that full load. And it's interesting. Concussion research is just kind of scratching the surface, but we've come a long way.
Well, I don't know if you remember, because of course you had a concussion when you played on my basketball team.
I did.
And
I did.
I had taken a concussion class, and I knew that I couldn't let you play. Although you were my best player, I was not allowed to let you play, and you were mad at me.
I was.
But I made you sit out. But I have to say, I am glad to see the focus on player safety, and I hope more players start taking care of their fellow players and not doing the Vontaze Burfict typed hits.
Yes.
But it's going to take a while to get that training out of, the younger generation of players. But, it's research that great people like you do that really makes this, hopefully perpetuates and allows these players to play for a long time.
Yeah, well, don't give me too much credit. My research is the shoulder. I know more people that do concussion research than I do. But yes, thank you. I'll take a little credit. Why not?
There you go. You're part of the community.
Yeah, why not?
Well, that was Nicked Up with our man, Nick Mirabito. Thank you, brother, for joining us tonight.
Always. No problem.
All right, Nick and JJ, thank you so much for hooking us up with that information. Now we keep moving. It's time for us to get right to the news desk. So let's start off the news desk with a little piece of news. Jay Gruden, head coach, I guess you can now say former head coach of the Washington Redskins, has been fired. Ryan, your thoughts?
Well, it's about time, and that's all I have to say about that.
No, not even any thought on fantasy impact for the team whatsoever?
Oh, if anything, it's going to be better.
Who is going to be the quarterback on that team now?
Well, probably Colt McCoy for the time being until Dwayne Haskins is ready.
I think they have to put in Dwayne, right?
Eventually, yeah. They'll have to. The fans are going to beg for it. Or demand it, at least.
Right. So, Bill Callahan, former Raiders head coach, Nebraska football head coach, taking over in the interim. JJ, what else is going on in that team? Any special insight?
Well, I heard that the Kevin O'Connell is rumored to be taking over the play calling duties. He was the offensive coordinator, but supposedly he is the hot young football mind on that team, if there is such a thing. But O'Connell is a former Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins QB. I remember him on the Jets. He was a smart backup who just never really had the physical skills. And honestly, I don't think he can be any worse than Gruden's been. So,
yeah, that's true. Let's keep moving. And Ryan, I know you've got to have a good opinion about this one. Gronk is joining Fox Sports as an analyst. But if you own him on any Dynasty League, are you dropping him just yet?
I mean, we saw what happened with Jason Witten joining the Monday Night Football crew and then coming back to play a year later.
Greg Olsen, too, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not dropping him, but I'm not expecting Gronk's coming back. I think this is a great move for him. I think he's going to be very good at this. He's like a personable, likable dude, and I think he's going to be a good analyst for Fox.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think he's going to be horrible.
That's what I had that. I'm going to disagree with you, Ryan.
Right.
I don't know that he can string 3 sentences together. That's not "Yo soy fiesta" or something Gronkian. I hope he surprises me, but I mean, you're always trying to reach a younger demographic, but I don't know that it's going to sit well, in my opinion, with the 30, 40-something-year-old football watchers of America here. But maybe that's just me.
So, yeah, I have to agree with you. And speaking of the Patriots, I know that they signed Mike Nugent.
Right.
But supposedly they have a couple new kickers trying out for them. And the big news is after waiting out his 4-game suspension, they cut Ben Watson.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the podcast, and it just seemed odd to me. I mean, you made the good statement that they weren't paying him during his suspension, but it's weird that they would carry him this far and then drop him. Does that just show just an issue with just the aging veteran, or do you think that there is faith in Matt LaCosse or something? What do you read into this situation going forward for Patriots tight ends?
I think it says more about Ben Watson and his condition at this point of his career. We all remember his fantastic play as a Patriot where he ran down. Who did he run down from the Denver cornerback?
I'm not. I have no recollection of what you're talking about.
Don't remember
whatsoever.
You guys don't remember that play?
No, not at all. Like usually, sometimes, like when you say something, I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue." I am not embarrassed to say I have no clue what you're talking about.
I'm 90% certain
Google that.
It was a playoff game.
Okay.
The ball got intercepted on the goal line. The cornerback ran it back from Denver. He was one of their great cornerbacks, and I can't think of his name.
Champ Bailey?
Champ Bailey.
Okay, that's it. Now what?
Ran it.
Now we're cooking with gas.
Down the sideline, 100 yards. Ben Watson was on the opposite side of the field, chased him down at an angle, knocked the ball out at the goal line for, I believe, a touchback to save the touchdown. I'll look up the play and email it to you. It's one of the great plays in the NFL and just overall hustle.
I'm going to watch it. And as a matter of fact, I start Googling Ben Watson runs down, and it auto-filled me with Champ Bailey. So thank you, Google machine. Appreciate you.
Google's a beautiful thing.
We were pretty Patriots heavy in the news desk, and that just kind of makes me feel a little bit dirty. So I say that we continue to move on. We'll see. By the way, I did mention Matt LaCosse. It looks like we're looking at a grand total of 6 targets so far from Tom Brady up until week 5. So probably not a whole lot of faith there. So
yeah, I think
Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I think the Pats are rolling just fine without a tight end right now. So Ben Watson, especially with his suspension and age, was expendable. And yeah, let's move on.
Okay, well then that brings us to our main segment before our starts and sits. Now, like I said before, we all have these crazy little opinions, but sometimes we just feel ours might be better than everyone else's. So the three of us might not always think that that's true of each other's takes, and that's why we're here to argue a little bit and have some controversial opinions. We'll all bring one to the table, one that we're very passionate about. And JJ, I know that you've been itching to get this out, so let it fly, and I cannot wait to disagree with you.
All right, so I don't know how overly passionate I am about this, but this is a pretty firm belief. Sean McVay's reign as the wunderkind of football coaches is over.
What?
The Rams are going to finish within a game of 500, either plus or minus one game, and they're missing the playoffs this year. I don't know. Maybe they should have hidden their little secret about McVay reading offenses for Goff until the mic cuts out at 15 seconds. But once the league found out, Patricia figured out how to stop them for the Lions. Belichick copied that and took it to the next level. And slowly but surely, every other team in the NFL is figuring out how to stop them or at least slow them down. Now, I am not a football coach or a football savant.
No way.
I don't pretend to be.
Okay, you're right. That's true.
If a team is waiting, right? So if a team is waiting to set their defense till the play clock hits 15 seconds, why don't you snap the ball when there's 20 seconds left or 16 seconds left and catch them not in their defense? Right? Catch a team being cute rather than trying too hard to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
McVay said in late January, early February that he was over-prepared for the Super Bowl. He was over-prepared. That's what went wrong. Right. Sure. That's what it was. You studied too hard for the test, Sean McVay. You're absolutely right, because that's something that you can do, is be too prepared. You know, he has to show some humility to change his tactics, or his team's going to suffer. I don't know if it's having a supermodel wife now. I don't know if this LA stuff has gone to his head, but the LA Rams, they're going to miss the playoffs and finish within a game of 500.
So, I mean, I kind of agree with you from the point of his reign as Wunderkind is over, right? Because the man is going to grow up and actually reach an age where coaches are actually NFL coach age, right? Like, this dude could literally still be a coach at Pete Carroll's age, which I'm pretty sure Pete Carroll's the oldest coach in the NFL, and he's probably going to stick around. It just doesn't strike me as the type of guy that is going to flame out. This is basically his life. You saw him on the sidelines with, John Gruden as a 21-year-old doing, I don't even remember what, but, he's been around it for long enough. I think where this opinion falls flat to me is that, again, you're focusing on, I think, this year, right? And again, dynasties hopefully were built on years that, we will see, maybe even 3 years down the road. Maybe Goff's not the answer. I'm going to talk a little bit about this with my controversial opinion here. I'm interested to see, Ryan, what you think, just because teams recycle themselves, every couple of years, and they sign Goff to a huge extension, right? So he's at least going to be there for a while. I can't tell you what's going to happen with Gurley, but they've got young receivers, they've got a young quarterback, they've got a great football mind, and just because you have a quarterback that is tough and has trouble reading defenses, doesn't mean that Sean McVay's fate for the rest of his football career is going to be tied to said quarterback. So I'm just thinking, I think that's a good view on this year. I was looking at their schedule, actually, and I see, again, Bears, Ravens, Falcons, Seahawks, Rams, or 49ers again, Cardinals they should get at least 2 wins off of. But, it'll be interesting to watch what the Rams, what they do this year. Ryan, tell the man what you're thinking.
Wow, I think you actually pretty much summed it all up. Yeah,
you gotta come up with your own.
No, seriously, I called this, didn't I? Like, I called this before the season even began, that the Rams are going to have a Super Bowl hangover, and they were going to come out flat, and like teams were going to be able to figure them out, and they were, probably going to miss the playoffs. So yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with JJ here for this year. But I mean, McVay, he's he's like a borderline genius. So I think he's going to be able to stick around for, quite a long time. Like he's young. He's a millennial, he's kind of like the, I was over prepared. That's a millennial response. It's just like he'll figure it out. He'll get older. He'll mature. He'll alter the way he coaches. It's, he'll eventually figure it out. So I don't think that his reign as like the wunderkind, offensive mind in football is necessarily over, but I do agree with you that this year the Rams are going to finish within a game of 500 and miss the playoffs.
Well, you heard it there, folks. Ryan and I, again, agree. Ryan, what is your controversial take?
Sorry, Dynasty footballers and fantasy managers, and Nick, but Kyle Allen should remain the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers even after Cam Newton gets healthy. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Carolina is 3-0 with Allen at the helm this season as opposed to 0-2 with Newton. This looks like a different team and a different offense with Allen, calling the shots. It has a spark that Cam was simply not providing. In the past 3 games, Allen has completed 66.7% of his passes for 674 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 picks, with a passer rating of 107.4. In contrast, through the first 2 games, Cam Newton completed 56.2% of his passes for 572 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 pick, with a passer rating of 71.0. He didn't even find the end zone with his legs either. And in fact, he has negative rushing yards. I think it's -2 on the season. And the stats don't even tell the full story of how bad Newton looked on tape. And I don't want to hear about how he was dealing with an injury either. He's always injured. Cam Newton's always dealing with an injury, which is just one more reason it's time for the Carolina Panthers to move on from their former MVP winning quarterback and begin to build around possibly Kyle Allen. Or maybe they want to see what they have in Will Grier. Or maybe they turn to the NFL draft. But the answer ain't Newton anymore. And but having said that, Cam is a talented player, and he would have no shortage of suitors on the trade market, and he could stand to benefit from a change of coaching and scenery. So I think that Carolina, if they were to trade Cam Newton, because his contract's up after next year, they could stock up a couple draft picks, maybe get some solid secondary help in the process, and just move on.
JJ, you want to take this first?
It is so hard to find a QB in the NFL. When you find one, you don't let one go. Cam Newton would have to really show that he can no longer do it. I think he's been injured for over a year. I don't believe in players being injury prone. I think Nick has talked about that. I think he just needs to stop playing when he's hurt and try to tough through it. All that being said, I would love Cam on my team. I don't know. I don't think Kyle Allen is even 50% of what Cam Newton is. I disagree. Michael?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ryan. This is the way that I want to break it down for a second, right? You gave me the stats of 674 yards and 5 touchdowns. 4 of those touchdowns came against Arizona. Okay, that's not all that impressive. Yes, you're right. Cam did lose those first 2 games with an injury, and that second game he probably shouldn't have been playing. But can you honestly tell me good old Riverboat Ron is going to get Cam back at some point in time when he is quote-unquote deemed healthy by the medical and training staff, and he's just going to put the face of the franchise on the bench? I mean, let's be really honest. Look at Christian McCaffrey's stats over the last 3 games too, and especially this last game, they just absolutely rode him. And then you look at, like you say, oh yeah, there's no interceptions, but let me look at this really quickly. I'm pretty sure that game against Houston, which, yes, they did win, he still lost 3 fumbles, right? Now, I'm not trying to mince it here, but I do think a stopgap and getting those wins is important, but there's no way you leave Cam Newton on the bench when he does return, because that's how you get fired as a coach, and that's who's making the decision. And Ron Rivera is already, in my opinion, on thin ice. So the second he gets his first-round draft pick back, even going all that way back, you're putting Cam Newton back.
Well, Michael responded very strongly, Ryan. I'm sorry. He did that to both of us. So, Michael, now that you're so fired up, why don't you offer us your wonderful take?
Okay, I'm going super crazy, super controversial, but I'm loving it, okay? So, if you are going to be participating in a Dynasty startup next year, which maybe you're listening to this pod, maybe you're thinking this might be for me if I'm not into Dynasty yet, I'm going to give you one little piece of advice that's going to give you multiple championships by this move alone. Maybe not really, but I would implore you to take Cooper Kupp as a top 10. You know what? No. I'm going to implore you to take Cooper Kupp as a top 8. No. I'm going to implore you to take Cooper Kupp as a top 6 wide receiver. I am going there. Now, remember, I'm not saying I'm down on like the Hopkins, Adams, Juju, maybe possibly Tyreek Hill. Michael Thomas is in that conversation. You're also talking and thinking about maybe Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper, and Mike Evans can be in that combo too. But I planted my flag on Cooper Kupp in a way. I don't know how strong I was coming out. I did say he was going to be the wide receiver 1 on the Rams, and I said that in the preseason. And I'm going to double down on that and say that he is definitely a wide receiver 1 and a top 6 dynasty wide receiver. He's just completing 9 targets per game this year so far. Jared Goff is throwing the ball a ton and looking his way. I was pretty spot on my evaluation of the Rams and the Gurley situation, meaning that, the Rams were going to lean on that passing game. And that's really not their identity. But again, he's averaging 12.6 targets per game, 500 yards in the 5 games, and he's doing it actually consistently. So I will say, if and when Darrell Henderson actually takes over, this offense can change. But to me, Jared Goff is locked up with that extension, as we said, and Kupp is a lock on this offense to produce. So, how crazy am I, guys, to put Cooper Kupp as a top 6 dynasty wide receiver going forward in startup drafts next year?
Ryan, can I go first?
Go for it.
All right. So, I picked Cooper Kupp to be the number 1 wide receiver on the Rams. At least as of August, you had Brandon Cooks ranked ahead of him. So, not quite sure how that math figures out for you.
Roll the tape back.
I'm looking at it right now in the ranking. So,
I'm going to find it for you.
So your controversy, if I'm not mistaken, is him moving from number 16 in our rankings, moving up 10 spots. Ooh, super controversial.
Okay.
Wow.
JJ always hits me. He always hits me where it hurts.
So a player who we had ranked low because of his coming off of an ACL. Mm-hmm. But okay. So Ryan, let's play a game. So He says top 6. I'll start reading off the names in the order that we have them ranked, and you tell me when you would put Cooper Kupp in.
All right.
DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Juju, Michael Thomas, Odell, Julio.
I would put
Mike
at
Evans.
this point right now. I would put Cooper Kupp
You're not putting
hold on.
Julio in
above
the top
Odell
6.
Beckham.
Okay, above Julio,
Not above Julio.
Definitely above Julio.
above Evans.
Yeah,
Michael, your turn's over.
above Evans. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Above DJ Moore. Oh,
Do it.
don't do it.
Do it.
No, I gotta go with DJ Moore here.
Above Keenan Allen.
No.
Above Adam Thielen.
Yes.
Above Kenny Galladay.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's a tie.
Okay. So we have him.
Break
So
the
we're
tie.
pretty much agreeing that he would be like a wide receiver 1-ish.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I put him in the 10 to
Go
12
ahead.
range.
yeah, I don't see any problem with that. I think he's great. He's recovered from his injury. I really like seeing what he does after the catch. So yeah, he has great separation. I really like Kupp this year, but you and your I ranked him number 1 on the Rams take is a load of crap. And
I'm rolling the tape back.
Go ahead, roll
We're
it
gonna
back.
Play it. We're going to play it.
roll it back. At least we'll get another listen for all of our old pods.
We're in our first year, okay? I'm loving all the feedback that we get. So thank you out there for listening.
All right. So those were our controversial takes. I am cutting this short. And we're going to move on to our start sits. So now is the part of the show where Ryan and Michael compete for the crown of the Nostradamus of nonsense. As they are doing the hard work, again, I'm going to sit back and make fun of them. The buys this week are the Buffalo Bills, Chicago Bears, Indianapolis Colts, and the Oakland Raiders. Michael, who are you starting at QB this week?
Well, it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be me if I didn't to just pick a fantastic quarterback coming off a fantastic week. I'm looking at Deshaun Watson. He is going to produce in a shootout with Kansas City. I was impressed with, again, what the Colts could do and the Colts defense, but Watson's on fire. Fire him up.
All right.
You're trying so hard, Mr. Snark.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah. I mean, really, like, people were going to bench Deshaun Watson against Kansas City. Thank you. Thank you for the advice. Hopefully that'll put some people in favor of drafting their Deshaun Watson. Whatever. All right. Ryan, go ahead.
Just because you hate this segment doesn't mean you have to make me hate it too eventually. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm going with Dak Prescott against the New York Jets. Even in a bad game, air quotes, against the Green Bay Packers last Sunday, Dak still netted over 26 fantasy points. And I'm looking for the Cowboys to get back on track after 2 losses by punishing a sorry JJ, an inferior team on the road. And as a quick bonus, if you don't have Dak, take a look at Kyler Murray against the Atlanta Falcons this week. The Falcons are trash against opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah. I agree with that Kyler Murray take. He's throwing the ball a ton. However, if the Cowboys are going to look past any opponent, they're going to look past the Jets this week. But Darnold, Mosley, and Herndon are all back. And I don't know if the Jets are going to win, but this may be a trap game for the Cowboys. They think they're going to roll. They want to show out. They might be overlooking. And they're going to beat the Jets, and Dak's going to put up a lot. I don't even know what I'm saying. All right, Michael, who are you sitting?
I'm going to sit Carson Wentz against Minnesota. I think that's a less than ideal matchup, even if he does get Deshaun Jackson back. I would just look elsewhere. I'm kind of seeing like around the 15 to 17th range on some weekly rankings. So maybe he's somebody that you're thinking that he can produce. Find somebody else this week.
Yeah, unless you're in like some bye week issues, I wouldn't be starting him either. That's a good call. Ryan?
Also sit the other quarterback on the other side of the matchup Michael just mentioned, which is Kirk Cousins. Cousins began to wake up from his coma last week, but that was against the Giants, and the Eagles' defense is a whole different animal.
Au contraire, mon frere. The Eagles' passing defense is not that strong. Right now, they're giving up the 5th most points to wide receivers, and they're clearly middle of the road as far as giving up points against QBs. Again, I'm not saying start Kirk Cousins, but I wouldn't necessarily avoid him in this matchup. Michael, who should the Riders start in the backfield this week?
I'm looking at at the Monday night game, and I'm saying the Packers and Lions both in the bottom half of giving it up to running backs, and Carrion and Aaron Jones are turning into RB1s. So you're definitely starting them. Be happy about that.
Excellent. Aaron Jones was one of my preseason darlings as my number 11 running back overall. Very happy to see you pick him here.
And it only took a Jamal Williams injury for LaFleur to actually figure that out.
It's okay. Jamal Williams will come back and they'll continue to split carries.
Can you imagine what would have happened last year, though, seriously, if Deion Lewis would have gotten injured like week 2, like how massive or how that really could have changed Derrick Henry's year last year? Yeah. Would have been insane.
Absolutely. Ryan, what do you got?
I got Chris Carson versus the Cleveland Browns. Carson has been heating up for the past 2 weeks, and he gets to face a Browns defense that has allowed an average of 6.0 yards per carry to opposing running backs in the same time frame. Fire him up.
Yeah. Chris Carson's one of those guys, to me, it's nothing fancy, but he's just a good old school running back. Like, I enjoy having him on my roster and starting him. Just a personal preference as to what I like.
Same.
Michael, who are you sitting this week?
So I'm gonna swing rather big, I think, and I'm gonna say sit James Conner. Okay, I like Jalen Samuels' involvement in the offense. That was against the Bengals, but now, again, you're saying, wait a minute, but Jalen Samuels is out like a month. That means fire up your James Connors, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that type of statement, or at least people say, but Samuels is out. Again, Mason Rudolph probably not going to play if he's still messing with his injuries. And a third-string quarterback that I can't even remember the name just might not be asked to do much, and that's true. But again, Connor might not do much against a front here, and he might get literally game scripted out of this one if they get really far down. So yeah, he's an elite talent, but I don't necessarily know they're playing the Chargers this week. Just makes me a little nervous that if the Chargers do absolutely blow out the Steelers, which can happen if they just can't get it going, I don't think that you're going to like the result.
Ryan?
I got Miles Sanders against Minnesota, and I picked Sanders over Jordan Howard here because Howard has a better chance at getting goal line work. Sanders isn't getting the amount of work in this offense that many of us were expecting, as his role has remained fairly constant since week 1. He also has not found the end zone yet this year. And this week he faces one of the league's toughest run defenses, and I don't like his chances at making a fantasy impact on roughly 10 carries and 3 targets against the Vikings.
I mean, technically he hasn't scored a touchdown. I'm sure he has found the end zone. It's in the same place in every stadium. There's 2 of them. I'm sure he found at least one.
Yep, there it is.
Yep, there's the end zone. I wish I could score, but there's the end zone. I found it right. Sorry, guys.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Yeah.
All right. Who are we starting at wide receiver, Michael?
I would really love to start Tyreek Hill here, but I'm not so sure he's going to be back. I think he will be.
No.
So I'm going to go with Julian Edelman, okay? The Giants cannot wrangle opposing wide receivers, and it's a Thursday game. So, of course, that means Brady gets the spotlight all to himself. And, of course, he likes to stroke his ego and gets a chance to highlight his main dude. That is Julian Edelman.
Yeah, keep kissing those rings. It's not going to get you closer to a championship, Michael.
We'll see.
Ryan, who are you starting?
I'm starting DJ Moore versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I suggested to start Moore against Tampa the first time they played, and it worked once, so let's do it again. The Bucs, according to NFL Fantasy, allow 45.12 points per game to opposing receivers. And Moore seems to be getting onto the same page as Kyle Allen, Moore also. And he hauled in 5 receptions for 91 yards last week against Jacksonville, and this trend should continue to improve against the league's worst passing defense. And he's due for a score.
Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day, Ryan. Twice a day. So maybe this will be your second time chiming 12. Wide receiver sits, Michael.
I'm going to try to go with I feel like a well-liked wide receiver.
Okay.
I did want to go with OBJ, but I am okay with his targets.
Okay.
I'm not going to go that crazy. Marquise Brown is trending a little bit further down. He picked up an injury designation since he is actually decent against wide receivers, and Brown's only topped 6 points once in the last 3 weeks in half-point leagues.
Good. We do full-point leagues. We're adults here, so start using different rankings, all right? I'm tired of this half-point stuff that you keep bringing out. We do full-point PPR.
Going to my room.
No team defenses, full-point PPR. Let's go. Ryan, who are you sitting?
Well, since Michael decided not to go with OBJ here, I will. He's getting targets, but he's not doing anything with them. He's the number 34 receiver in PPR, but was a second-round pick in most Dynasty and redraft leagues. His last 3 weeks have been performances of 5 points, 4 points, and 11.6 points. And that 11.6 point game was good for a wide receiver 43 finish that week. Not even a wide receiver 3. So I'm holding Beckham out of my lineups this week in favor of someone like DJ Moore or even Cortland Sutton, who happens to be the number 10 receiver in PPR right now. Fun fact. I know it feels crazy to say this, but OBJ is too risky to play at this point.
Do you know where Cortland Sutton is ranked in half-point PPR?
No, because I don't.
He's going to say no because we don't care.
I don't play half-point PPR.
It's a great middle ground.
Because we're adults. You know, I mentioned half-point PPR to my middle school fantasy club, and they said, Mr. Wenner, we don't play that. That's for little kids.
I highly doubt that situation happened, first of all.
And then they said, you know your co-host, Michael Kloss?
What did they say about this? I'm interested.
He should stop playing in half-point PPR leagues.
He should get some Jesus roofies.
Well, Ryan, I just want to say that based on what you said about OBJ, Riders, you heard it here first. Start OBJ this weekend. This will be the weekend he goes off.
Most likely.
You're just confusing the heck out of people right now.
Tight ends. It's not hard. It's not hard. Whenever you hear Ryan so firmly against somebody, go for them. It's a pretty easy concept. He gets a lot of his starts.
How dare you?
But his sits are a little bit questionable sometimes. Michael, who are you starting?
What was that, JJ? Would you you want to come back into the fray and recommend some starts and sits?
Absolutely. Let me take this one for you. I'm going to start Will Dissly. The big dude is seeing a ton of red zone targets, and George Kittle just burned Cleveland.
I may or may not have written that on our show doc, but thank you for giving me a little bit of a deeper inflection. Makes me feel more like a man. Thank you. Will Dissly.
Ryan, who are you taking?
I'm taking, Michael already typed Austin Hooper's name into this spot before I even looked at the show doc. which thank you, Michael.
I was like, Ryan, start Austin Hooper. It'll be hilarious.
And Austin Hooper is the obvious play here, as he gets to face the Cardinals this week. And the Cardinals are the league's worst team against the tight end, and Hooper is on a tear.
Hey, fun fact.
What's that?
He's actually the number 1 tight end in PPR.
Check that out.
PPR? What's that?
And super fun fact. He's actually the number 1 in half-point PPR as well. Tight end sits. Michael.
I am going to go with O.J. Howard. Again, if you're still thinking that O.J. Howard is a thing, stop it. Don't play O.J. Howard. You've learned your lesson by now. You're probably in some type of hole, and if you have a winning record, great job drafting. You missed on O.J. Howard. Don't feel bad. It happens to the best of us. Find somebody else.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Ryan.
I still think O.J. Howard should demand a trade. Send him to the L.A. Chargers or Arizona Cardinals. They would appreciate him there, and so would their QBs. But it seems like the same names keep popping up in the segment every week. But let's just go ahead and sit Jimmy Graham against the Detroit Lions. Detroit's defense has been good against tight ends this year, and they're fresh coming off a bye week, and it sounds like the makings of a bad performance for Graham.
So I hear what you're saying as far as O.J. Howard needing a trade. But maybe, and just hear me out, maybe O.J. Howard isn't great at football. Remember, this is a good quote. When a player shows you who they are, take them at their word. The whole year-over-year progression isn't a thing in the tight end world. A tight end comes out and shows you the level they're going to play at, and that's usually where they stay. So I think he's going to be a middling tight end.
I don't know. I would point to what he did last year before he got hurt. He was going to be a top 5 finisher at tight end.
But he got hurt.
And now he's on a team that isn't utilizing him. So, again, O.J. Howard, if you're listening to this, request a trade, buddy.
And call me up. I can be your agent.
Yeah. Or just call me up and we can be friends.
That's be fine. Awesome. So, question for you guys.
All right.
Right now, if you were in a redraft league, right? Running back world is kind of insane at this point.
A little bit.
So one of my buddies at work asked me, because I asked them today, like, hey, we're doing the pod tonight. What do you guys want to know? And my buddy said, hey, who's a tight end I can pick up off the waiver wire? Who's actually going to give me points? So looking at who is available, there's Duke Johnson, Nyheim Hines, Burkhead, Jamal Williams, Giovanni Bernard.
Do you say tight end?
Oh, running back. Sorry.
Okay. I thought you said tight end.
I probably did. Alexander Madison, Mark Walton. Mm-hmm. Any of those guys standing out to you as somebody who you would pick up, who you think could score?
Maybe Duke Johnson. I wouldn't love it, but no, probably not.
Maybe Alexander Madison. He might get some goal line work.
Yeah, the only person I was thinking of, and the one I recommended to him, but I said I'd check with you guys. I recommended Nyheim Hines, only because the past 3 weeks he's got in 4, 6, and 5 targets. So you look at his in a full PPR league, he's had,
of course, duh.
He's had 5.5, 9.9, and 8.6 points the past 3 weeks.
So he's been better than Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, so that's the only person I could really think of. And like I said, anybody else he picks up is really in case of injury. Like Madison might be good, but he's good insurance in case Cook goes down. Mm-hmm. But what do you guys think about Mark Walton? They said that he has gone past Ballage as the number 2 back, and they split carries. Do you think splitting carries in the Miami backfield is worth anything?
No, because Kenyon Drake's still there. right?
And
Yeah.
And even though he's the pass catching back, he's technically still the lead back. What's your buddy's name?
My buddy? Oh,
The guy that's asking these questions.
Mike Corrigan.
All right. Well, I think he should listen to you and probably go with Hines.
yeah,
You guys are the best.
Mark Walton. I mean, even Kenyon Drake isn't cracking lineups right now. Just
Oh
don't do
God,
it.
he's on 2 of mine. Yikes!
I was gonna say, I've got some issues on one team, and he is definitely on mine right now.
It's not.
Or
pretty.
I could start double tight end, and I don't know if I want to do that again.
Oh, especially in a non-tight end premium.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
Oh, it's terrible. Well,
All right.
ladies and gentlemen, that's all for us tonight. Hit us up at Rider Dynasty on Twitter and RiderDynasty.com. Give us a follow. Recommend us to some friends. We'd love to get a few more listeners on here. But for now, I'm just going to say good night, Michael.
Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 1.
Actually, he's wide receiver 2. If in
Ryan?
full point PPR, we'll catch you in the next one.
Boat drinks, people. Boat drinks.
Thank you for listening to the Rider Dynasty podcast. If you have enjoyed the pod, please subscribe and leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Follow the guys on Twitter at Ride or Dynasty. You can follow JJ at JJ Wenner. Ryan is at BixPixFFB. And Michael is at Michael S. Kloss. Check out our website, rideordynasty.com. And remember, we have your back.
Your reputation far exceeds your skills, Mammy Rammer.